Oh, there it goes. It didn't hit for a second, but I am recording now. So
Oh,
yes,
okay. I'm recording now too. Okay, so
good.
so guess what time Sean Connery gets to Wimbledon?
What time does Sean Connery get to Wimbledon?
10ish.
That's terrible. Uh, that is terrible.
What? What? See, now you have to say it in the Sean Connery accent. 10ish.
I do.
Uh,
That's terrible.
well, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of AppenRoid Talks About Wrestling. I am your host. I am
Yay!
Rue, and with me, as always, is your friend and mine.
Oh, this is Archie. Yay!
Yay!
Hooray!
Once again, we're not able to follow our schedule. Of course, life gets in the way, and we have our own obligations outside of the podcast. But we've been keeping up on Twitter.
Yes.
We're posting stuff. We've been kind of busy, and like I mentioned in the last podcast, I was gone all weekend. I was actually in Disneyland.
Yeah.
And so yeah, just things have been getting busy. We're getting real busy, and but thank you again for listening and catching up with us. A lot of things have happened, and as I told Archie, I mean, there's a big announcement that I haven't even told him, and so I just want to get that out of the way real quick. A couple days ago,
Oh boy, I can only imagine what this is going to be. If you haven't told, if I'm finding out at the same time that the viewers are finding out, this is not going to be good for me. That's usually how it
oh,
goes.
it's going to be great for you, and I think you'll be really shocked about this.
Okay.
A couple days ago, my wife sends me a message through Facebook. I'm still at work, and she lays a bombshell on me, and essentially tells me that we'll be expecting a new member of the family.
Are you kidding me?
And we weren't expecting it, we weren't planning it, but lo and behold, it just happened. And so now we are the proud new owners of a bunny. His name is Chip. He's a
I hate you. I hate God. I hate you so much right now.
what? What's wrong? What did you think?
Really, really.
What did you think I was
Good
talking about?
God Almighty.
What did you think I was talking about?
Are you seriously, dude? Are you trying to push my B12 deficiency like even more? Oh,
I never said
I was like,
pregnant.
he is.
I never said baby. Come on.
I know, but you said expecting, which usually. Oh, dude.
Which is the
I
truth.
was gonna say, if he is he really, I was sitting here. Is he really telling me this right now over a podcast that we're doing? Good Lord, I am gonna. I'm so mad at you right now.
Hey, I never said anything about a baby. Okay,
You didn't have to. It was
it
implied.
wasn't even implied. I'm still telling you the truth. I mean, essentially,
Okay, get on with it. You got a new bunny. His name is Chip.
yes, he's adorable. He's a white Newfoundland dwarf. He's 4 months old. Essentially, she told me through Facebook. She was like, "Hey, what do you think about a bunny?" And I'm like, "Okay, so you got one, so now you're just telling me about it." And he's just like, "Yeah, pretty much." And
It's usually how it happens.
yeah, yeah, I already knew where it was going, and I've always wanted a bunny. I just never got around to it and everything, and now I've fallen in love with this little guy. He's so cute and docile, and Alex loves him. Alex calls him my Chip. He doesn't say, "Hey, I want to see Chip." He said, "I want to see my Chip." And so I was like, "Okay, so he's
So he's already taking ownership. He's
yeah,
taking dominance over
exactly.
the.
It's
Yeah.
already part of the family." So that's that is the big announcement.
All right. I'm still so mad at you right now, but we'll get through this podcast, even though my hatred is running through and through right now.
I've been waiting to do that for days. Okay, so anyway, big news going on this week. This actually ties into what we talked about last week. We were talking about Sting.
Yes.
Sting showed up at ComiCon yesterday alongside Paul
Mm-hmm.
Heyman,
Yes.
Daniel Bryan, and Hulk Hogan. What are your thoughts?
Yes, he did. What did you say? My
Yeah,
thoughts?
what are your thoughts on that?
I thought that was fantastic.
Mm.
I love the fact that it was. I believe it was a surprise to everybody that was there at Comic Con. I don't believe that anybody knew that he was actually going to be there. Besides, WWE obviously and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the audience didn't know that they were actually going to see him. I could be wrong, but I think that's the gist that I got of everything that had like read prior to watching like the videos and everything like that, is that this was a complete surprise for the people that attended Comic Con.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think it's great that he is embracing this. And he's coming out and being a part of the WWE family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and some people might look at it and say, well, why is he doing all this stuff? Now that we've kind of seen him doing the backstage, his debut on TV is not going to mean as much, and or whatnot, or it's not going to be as big of a surprise anymore. And but I disagree. I highly disagree. I don't care if it was a surprise or not. Everybody knew that he was a part of the WWE family already.
Yeah.
So there's really no surprise. The only surprise is when is he gonna be on TV, sort of thing. And this, I think it's great that he's doing this stuff. He's doing the Comic-Con. He's, doing stuff for the video game. He's doing stuff for his first official WWE action figure, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before he's actually on WWE programming, and I'm excited. I'm ecstatic about it. I thought this whole thing, this Comic-Con thing, was great,
Mm-hmm.
And it's good press for the WWE.
I agree. And it's already obvious that there's just so much difference between him working with TNA, him working with WCW, him working with WWA, all the other organizations besides WWE. It's obvious that he is very much involved in the product. There's nothing like, oh, we're going to surprise you. You're not going to know when Sting's going to come around, but eventually we'll get to it. You're just going to have to stay at the edge of your seat. No, they're showing him as much as possible.
Yeah.
They're getting as much mileage out of his name, out of his out of his history, and I think this is great the way they're handling him. And I mean, just the fact that like you can't imagine him being at Comic-Con and being on a video game with any other organization. Sure,
Oh
sure,
yeah.
he was on the video game for WCW, but I mean, he's making appearances. He's a part of the commercial. He's not part of a big group. It's Sting. We're making a big deal out of the fact that this is Sting, and this is all part of
Mm-hmm.
the recipe for this amazing stew of when he finally comes in. He's like in
Yeah.
this crock pot, and it'll be ready for us to eat when it comes around, and I'm very excited.
Exactly. It's that build up.
Mhm.
It's that build up. And people are just getting ready to, people are just getting ready to explode. When he eventually does, walk on that ramp, and make his or just descend from the ceiling, or however they're gonna
Right.
whatever they're gonna do with him now. I don't know, but I don't know. I think he might be too old to descend from the ceiling, but 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 you're right. This is like that slow build up, of us being able to see him and say, hey, look, he is a part of our company. He is here. He is a part of the WWE.
Mhm.
Look. Because like you said, there were so many times that we heard, oh, there's talks between WWE and Sting. Oh, he's signed. Oh, wait, no, we lied. He hasn't signed. I think there was so much of that, especially, the past few years, and especially after his contract with TNA ran out,
Mhm.
and so many rumors and whatnot, and people were, they were overjoyed, then they were let down, then they were overjoyed, then they were let down, and so finally, I think it got to a point where if the people finally knew that he had signed, and it's finally confirmed, that he's doing this, if they just still kept him on the back burner and didn't do anything with him until they put him on WWE programming, I think that, the fans would. I think that it would have a less effect for his return or his debut, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, that's just the way I look at it.
No, it's a great call. I mean, they're able to to keep him in the limelight, keep him in the consciousness of the WWE universe. Also kind of rub it in the face of TNA, say, hey, look at this marquee player that you basically let go, kind of a thing. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's great, and they'll be able to build up when he finally shows up, and I'm looking forward to when he does.
Yeah.
But now it's actually the question is, where's he going to show up next in the name of WWE? I mean, you don't know, because this was a surprise. Just like the
Exactly.
video game was a surprise, and so this is great.
Yeah, stuff like the video game is a surprise. I think that he's still going to continue to really work towards the video game to promote that. I know, like I said, I know John Cena is the cover boy, and I think that, John Cena will do a lot of that promoting. But I want to say that I wouldn't be surprised to see Sting show up at like Gamescom, and because I think they're showing WWE 2K15 behind closed doors or to like VIPs only or something like that at Gamescom, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him there, kind of as a spokesperson, because WWE has done that in the past. Wrestlers have shown up at Gamescom, and just to talk about the game and kind of promote and hype up the game. So it's not always just one wrestler that's there promoting. It's a few, and so I wouldn't be surprised to see Sting show up at like Gamescom or something like that. I would like to see him, hopefully. I don't think he'll debut at a pay-per-view. I think it'll probably be on Raw, just because there's a wider audience, they'll be watching. I think more people will be watching Raw than they would like a pay-per-view. So I think that as far as his debut on WWE television, I would think they'd be probably at a Raw.
Yeah, I mean. I really don't know. I mean, I see what you mean, but there is a huge pay-per-view coming up, like
SummerSlam,
a massive one that that's the summer event to watch if you're going to watch a wrestling event in the summer. I mean, that's it. I mean, no one talks about Bound for Glory or whatever they have in the summer for TNA. SummerSlam's a big one, and maybe they could use a Raw appearance to build up and say, hey, Sting's going to be at SummerSlam. I mean, if anything, they could use more stars to really build up and sell out the pay-per-view, which,
yeah.
In all honesty,
well, if he's gonna if they do something with him at SummerSlam or like debut him at SummerSlam, I don't want them to promote that he's gonna be at SummerSlam.
Really?
I would like for him just to show up at SummerSlam and then promote him for Raw the next night. You know what I'm saying? Like I want if he's gonna be on a pay-per-view, I'd like for it to be, like SummerSlam, like a complete surprise. Like he gets involved in a storyline somehow, like at the very end of the pay-per-view. And then be like, what is going to happen tomorrow night on Raw? And then, because then people will know, shoot, well, he's going to be at Raw now because the pay-per-view just ended with him, And so, I don't know. That's the way I think that's the way I would like for it to go down, but that's just me.
Oh, look at you, fantasy matchmaking.
Well, I am a wrestling fan at heart, and so.
Well, we're talking about SummerSlam, and let's talk about the pay-per-view that has led us to or leading us to SummerSlam. This past Sunday was Battleground.
I mean, what, Battleground?
Yeah, thank you. What's his name? Bad News Barrett. I gotta say, kind of a so-so pay-per-view, if you ask me.
It was very, very so-so.
Yeah, let's talk about one of the highlights of the match. The pay-per-view. Was the IC title battle royal. As I mentioned, Bad News Barrett got injured, and so they had not oddly enough, not 20 but 19-man battle royal.
No. Which it made no sense to me, but hey, why not? It's why not?
To me, the wrong guy won. We discussed last week that we never been really behind the Miz, and I'm not sure exactly what the reasoning is behind having him win. But to me, it brought down the whole battle royal.
It really did, because the battle royal, of course, it started off slow, of course it does, and it was such I mean, the Great Khali got eliminated first.
Ridiculous.
Um,
Ugh.
and man, it was just, I cried a little bit, mainly out of joy, but but um, but but yeah, it started off a little bit slow, but then I mean, it really picked up. Obviously, if with any battle royal like the battle royals or the Royal Rumble, you're gonna have your your spots, your big spots and everything. And obviously, Kofi Kingston continues to amaze at me of the things that he can do,
Mm-hmm.
and in these types of matches, the things that he is able to, do to stay in, to stay in there. It was unbelievable. I was impressed with what did he do the first time. Like he pulled off like at least two really really cool stunts to be able to stay in that battle royal. I can't remember the first one though.
I can't remember either. I mean, you're asking me, and I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember. See, I'm having flashbacks of Royal Rumble when he almost got
Yeah,
eliminated, and then his feet touched the steps, so he wasn't eliminated. I'm getting
yeah.
flashbacks of that, but I like for some reason I can't remember what he did actually at the pay-per-view at Battleground. It's just
All right. The one
once
thing that I
again.
remember, the one thing that I do remember of his, the second one was all right. The way he was on the apron,
Uh
and he got knocked backwards, and he jumped backwards, and Big E caught him on his shoulders. And to me that was just unbelievable because I mean Big E, all he had to do was kind of stand there and catch him, but Kofi Kingston didn't even look like he turned his head backwards to see where he was, so he didn't know how far, what kind of height that he had to get on that little jump backwards to be able to get onto Big E's shoulders,
It's
and
a
the
lot of
fact that
trust.
yeah, it's a lot of trust for Big E just to be there to catch him and make sure that he didn't, completely knock him over. And so that was fantastic. I loved it. The battle royal itself was a lot of fun, but very, very, very predictable, especially towards the end with the Miz, laying on the ground on the outside, and it didn't fool anybody.
Hmm.
Because as soon as Dolph Ziggler, as soon as he who was it? Who was it? Cesaro? Did he eliminate? Was it Cesaro? No, it wasn't Cesaro. I can't remember who freaking Dolph Ziggler eliminated.
Well, he almost won, and
Yeah, he
then
almost won. He eliminated somebody, but not even the crowd was sitting there like cheering because they all knew
yeah,
that the
man.
Miz was still on the outside. Because the whole battle royal, the Miz was going under under the bottom rope or between the ropes, but he never went over. And so he was just being that classic heel, biding his time and whatnot. Which I do like this aspect of the Miz that he's doing. I like that he's being that kind of like cheap heel, that cheater type, heel. But I'm like I said, but to me it's not always persona. It comes down to what their ring ability, and he's just not there for me yet.
I don't see the title. I don't see him elevating the title, or the title elevating him at all. And,
Yeah,
I mean, he's a former WWE champion, but to me, his title reign is not impressive, considering the
no,
guys that he worked against and how they actually carried him, in my opinion. So for him to win the Intercontinental title was just like, well, I mean, there's a number of guys that were in the Battle Royal that I thought to myself, why, like Sheamus, he's the U.S. champion. Why is he going after the Intercontinental title? Why is
yeah,
Alberto Del Rio there? Why is Dolph Ziggler there? They're former world champions. It's just they
yeah,
were like it seemed like they just like throwing people in there that they expected not to win, and
yeah. It's
then
something like that,
and it's like, oh
it's
yeah, but they're named people, so it's going to make the battle royal be much bigger. No, I mean, there are so many people that would have really benefited having the Intercontinental title at this time. Like Cesaro, in my opinion, was number one in my list. I was like thinking, hoping that he would win. You know,
yeah,
Ryback could really use a title run. Yes, we talked about Ryback last week, but
yeah. We talked
in
about
all,
Ryback last week.
in all honesty, I mean, what else are you going to do with him? You're not really doing anything. Damian Sandow would have been great to have won the title. You know,
What was he doing with those shorts and those stirrups and the?
what was that?
He's like a beach, like he was a beach bum or something. Like he was supposed to be like an old guy beach bum or something. I have no idea.
I didn't get it. I watched him come in like, what is that? And they never explained it. Like, or Bo Dallas. I mean, Bo Dallas is in the Rumble, the Battle Royal. What happened there? Why, you know? I mean, and then surprise, surprise, Zack Ryder was there, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
what about all these other people? You know, they would really benefit from having the IC title at this time. You know, and
Yeah.
get some new blood in there, put them in with, you know, veterans to build either them up or to find out if they can cut it. The Miz winning makes no sense to me whatsoever. So I was kind of disappointed.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense, but you know, what can you do? You know, we'll see in the weeks to come. You know what really happens with that, and if anything good comes out of it. But like I said, like we both said, we don't see anything good coming out of him carrying the IC title. So let's talk about
the main event.
The main event, yes. Talk about the main event. Randy Orton versus Kane versus John Cena versus Roman Reigns. Very lackluster, in my opinion. Very lackluster. Like what I tell you on the phone the other day, I told you it looked like nothing but a spot fest.
Yes.
And that's basically what it was. It was not a wrestling match. It was all right. It was just okay. Let's bide time until we all each hit our spots.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's basically what the main event was. And you know, I really used to like Fatal 4-Ways. You know, and I think that's because that's when I was a teenager, and I loved the spots. You know, I was like, oh yes, I love it when the wrestlers hit each other's finishers on them, you know, and whatnot, and you know, you love the table spots or whatnot. But you know, as I've gotten older, I've learned to appreciate the wrestling aspect more than the wrestlers hitting the spots, and I just felt like there was no wrestling involved in that main event. And I know it's hard because all right, it's a Fatal 4-Way. How much actual wrestling can you have because everyone's just beating on each other the whole time? But you know, I still think it's doable. But you know, and I understand Roman Reigns. To me, last night, Roman Reigns showed me why he is still not ready.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, like I said, he hits his spots good. He hits his spots fine. But I mean, honestly, what did he do the whole time? He threw some punches, a few Samoan drops, a couple Superman punches, and a couple spears.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, and then that jump kick thing that he does on the apron. But other than that, that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing. No chain grappling. No.
Nope.
You know, nothing like that. You know, no side headlocks or submissions. It's all him hitting his spots. It's all him doing these big moves. And and you can't have, and pretty soon people are gonna grow tired of that because that's all he's gonna do. I mean honestly, you know, that's why I was very, very happy to see. I was like, please do not. He better not win the title tonight because.
Yeah.
It
was very disappointing. But at the same time, you know, you have to give him credit for the fact that it was this first time, not only in a main event situation where he didn't have Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins to work off of to watch over him, but it was also the fact that he was in there with Kane, Randy Orton, and John Cena. Not exactly the kind of guys that. I mean, okay, they can make anyone look good, but you have to pull your own weight. And if you're not able to pull your own weight, it's difficult for them. Let's just say that. Like we've seen it time and time again with Randy Orton. Is that Randy Orton's such a great wrestler. He's smooth in the ring. But he needs someone to work well off of. And if it doesn't work well, it doesn't look good. And
think about how many wrestlers he's yelled at in the ring.
Yeah.
Very, very audible when things don't go smoothly.
Yeah. I mean, look at Kofi Kingston. Why is he not in the main event? Because of Randy Orton.
Because of Randy Orton. And If you don't know what we're talking about, go YouTube it. You'll
Oh,
definitely
please
see.
do.
You'll definitely see Randy losing it and calling Kofi stupid.
On a Raw. It's not like a house show or a pay-per-view.
Yeah,
It was on a Raw on free
it was on
TV. I
Raw.
mean, oh my gosh. And it's just, it's not a discredit to Randy. It's just that Randy is and always will be, if you really look at the evidence of the past like 12 years, Randy is one of the chosen ones in WWE
Yep.
right now. And he knows it, but they need someone to work well off of him, which is why he and John Cena have been working together for so long, because they know each other so well. And when Roman Reigns is just not ready for the main event, obviously by this situation, it's obvious that it's gonna be rough. And then there's Kane.
Hmm.
It's kind of hard to work with Kane if you don't know how to work his style, and we've
Yeah.
seen it time and time and time again. He works so much better with smaller guys than he does with bigger guys.
Yeah.
That is evident.
And I have to point something out. Yeah, I have to point something out when you said Kane, and this came to my mind. What in the world? When did John Cena start actually selling moves? Actually landing flat on his back?
That's a good question. That's a
Because he took
really good
he
question.
took that choke slam like a champ. Like, I mean, do you see the height that he got on that choke slam?
Well, I watched it, and I'm not sure if it's just also John taking moves on his back. I mean, because you and I have gone rounds about like John Cena does not land on his back. I also think Glenn, who's Kane, if you will, Glenn Jacobs, did not give him a choice in that matter.
Because, but the thing is, like, he lifted him up high. And I don't know if it was Cena helping like by pushing his arm off the shoulder or anything, but then like all of a sudden he chokeslammed Cena like that, and I was like, yes, that's the chokeslam that I love to see out of Kane. That's what that looked like old school Kane chokeslamming somebody, and then he goes over to Roman Reigns and he picks up Roman Reigns and a dud of a chokeslam. And I was like, oh, I was so let down. It was like we had this great chokeslam to John Cena, and then all of a sudden it was just like, just this crap of a chokeslam to Roman Reigns. I was like, dang it all, come on. But I was so impressed because I was so used to seeing John Cena not land flat on his back to sell moves, and I know it's because he had a bad neck and he's had surgeries and whatnot, but. It just seems recently, watching some of John's matches, that he's starting to sell more moves more flat on his back, rather than kind of like his lower back area,
Oh.
And it was always just like, oh, those moves, they just look terrible. It looks terrible because that's the way he was selling them. But going on to the finish of the match. And the outcome of the match.
Oh gosh.
How many times is John gonna win a match though by doing an attitude adjustment onto someone else's body and then covering the guy? How many times has that happened?
A lot. One that comes to mind, not just with Randy Orton Kane, WrestleMania 25 when he did the same thing to Edge and Big Show. It's the exact same situation.
But it just seems like, it was like, oh, really? Why couldn't he have just, given Randy Orton the attitude adjustment and then either covered Randy or Kane, who was still out from, what was it, a spear? Who was still out from a spear or still down, and Roman Reigns was out of the ring from an RKO, so he was out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like it. Like I personally, I am not. I thought that the outcome of the match, though, the result of the match with John Cena retaining, was a smart move. I'm glad he retained, because that brings up Brock Lesnar versus John Cena for SummerSlam.
Yep. Can I be honest? I'm not looking forward to that match at all.
Really?
I really am not. Because I didn't like their match a couple years ago at Extreme Rules.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Let's see what happens. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm glad. I'm kind of looking forward to it. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. We still have a couple other matches on the card from Battleground to mention. What do you think? Okay, Paige versus AJ Lee. What did you think?
I honestly skipped over it. I wanted to see how Jack Swagger was going to work with Rusev. I was actually really excited about that.
Gotcha.
So I did. Tell me about AJ and Paige.
Honestly, you didn't miss much. I was a little disappointed by their first meeting. But then again, it's this is AJ's first real match back, I think, from being gone for quite a few months. So I know that their feud is still going, and it's really starting to heat up, so I'm really excited about their. I'm assuming they're gonna have another match at SummerSlam, and so that's what I'm really excited to see. I think that they're really gonna shine at SummerSlam. But their match at Battleground, a little lackluster. But so we can kind of just breeze right by that one. And let's talk about the match of the night that completely blew the roof off the place and really made the rest of the night just sad in comparison.
It's kind of hard to follow up what the Usos and the Wyatt family did.
That was, my lord. I have seen them wrestle so many times on Raw, so many times like on different pay-per-views. I've never seen, and all of them good. Don't get me wrong. I've not seen a bad match, tag match between those four guys at all. But what I saw on Sunday was something that I haven't witnessed in a long time, and that was two teams that both did not deserve to lose a match.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, I have to be honest. I am a sucker for 2 out of 3 falls tag team matches.
Yes,
I am a huge sucker for that. Like, one that still rings with me, and I will never ever forget because I saw it live, was Benoit and Angle versus Edge and Rey Mysterio. One of the best 2 out of 3 falls, and I was not expecting much from the Usos and the Wyatt family just because they were the opener and I've seen them so often.
Yeah.
But holy cow. Unbelievable. Like, I've never really been sold on Eric Rowan and Luke Harper just because they're kind of awkward. Yeah. And just because some people just can't work with them. Holy crap. I mean, to me, that was their true coming out party. Like,
yeah.
It's now not just Bray Wyatt and the other two. It's now the whole Wyatt family to me.
Yeah.
It's like they are a complete package now. They are what the Shield used to be.
It was.
Oh my god.
There were so many times, and what I really loved, the thing that really pulled me in, at first was that first fall. How quickly it happened.
Oh yeah.
He got the quick he got the quick tag. He got booted in the head, and then he got pinned. I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" I was just like, "Wow!" I was like, and then from then on, it was just like, I was hooked. I was in, because you don't ever see that anymore, and that was just beautiful, and and then how about that double superplex off the top rope? Not two guys superplexing one guy off the top rope, but one guy superplexing 2 men off the top rope. What are they gonna? I'm always like, what are they gonna think of next? And they never seem to disappoint me. And
the double splash at the end.
The double splash at the end. That
could have gone so badly because they were both like in the same corner. As I've seen a double splash where they're in opposite corners, but they were in the same corner. And I was just like, oh, something bad is going to happen. And thankfully it didn't.
Yeah. And then what set it up was awesome when Luke Harper was running the ropes and gonna splash to the outside, and he got super kicked in the face.
Yep.
Oh, that was. Oh man, I got goosebumps when I saw that. I was like, "Dad, you got to be kidding me!" It was
Oh,
fantastic.
oh, that first big splash when he kicked out.
Yeah,
I was like, no way, he kicked out. I'm
I
like,
know.
I'm at work. I'm watching this. I'm like, what?
It was it was those so many close, near falls, and it was
Yeah.
just like, and every single time they kept kicking out and kicking out and kicking out, you didn't know who was going to win the match anymore. Like you just didn't
No.
know, and that was what
No.
made it so great, is because
Yeah.
you didn't know, you had no clue who was going to walk away the winner, and it just that's and credit those four guys, on putting on such an amazing show stealing match that nobody could follow it up. Nobody could follow it
Nope.
up. Not even
Nope.
not even Jericho and Wyatt, which I was really really looking forward to. You
Me
know,
too.
and
Disappointing
that
finish, in my opinion.
yeah, and that was kind of a letdown, and that quick code breaker, that got the win was that threw me off a little bit, but
Yeah.
I don't think, I mean, I'm glad Jericho got the win. I don't think it didn't do anything to hurt Wyatt. I don't think.
No.
And I was actually glad that Jericho got the win, because last time he came back, all he did, it seemed like, was put over all the talent.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of nice to see him actually come back and win, and still so he's still like a credible force, still a force to be reckoned with. So, but I'm hoping that's not the end of their feud. I hope it's going to keep going, and I hope they have another match at SummerSlam. That'd be great. But that overall is pretty much that's Battleground. That's Battleground in kind of a nutshell.
Yeah. I mean, Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose didn't happen. It was
Yeah,
just a
it didn't
brawl,
happen.
essentially.
I was
No.
excuse me, which I was disappointed in. I was disappointed that they didn't have the match, because I was really looking forward to that too. But honestly, in all honesty, that match needs to happen on a bigger stage like SummerSlam.
Which, yeah, that was a great way to like say, hey, this is a teaser. We're not going to do it yet, kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah, and so I was
That's
sitting
fine, I
there.
guess.
I was upset. I was like, man, come on, why advertise it and then not have it go? But then I was like, okay, it makes sense. It makes sense. It's a bigger match. It needs to be on SummerSlam. So
Yeah.
that's So yeah, but that's Battleground in a nutshell. Very mediocre pay-per-view in my opinion. Aside from the absolutely outstanding Usos and Wyatt family match.
Yeah. Well, once again, leading up to SummerSlam and everything, but and as you guys were listening, the last thing we talked about it was the tag team match, and that is actually going to be the main course of your meal today from the AppenRoid Talks About Wrestling. It's going to segue us to what our main thing. See, what we're trying to do, because apparently what some people like is structure, quote unquote, to podcasts and everything, and we know that we're very well aware that we can't stay on schedule or anything, or can't stay on a structure, because we have so much thoughts that we want to get out and speak about and everything. But we're
Structure.
trying this. We're trying structure today, and so let's segue into tag teams. Tag team wrestling has been around a very, very long time. One of my biggest criticisms about tag team wrestling in the past 5 years is that for some reason WWE just does not want to invest money or time into building tag teams. And
Yeah.
what they did for a long time was create super tag teams, where you get two established stars, former world champions, if you will, basically making up a tag team. I mean, Edge and Chris Jericho were a tag team at one point, and then when Edge got injured, it became Jericho and Big Show, which actually was a great tag team. And then more recently was Jericho. Yes, thank you. And then it became Show Miz, because Miz became a part of that tag team. And then more recently was Daniel Bryan and Kane, which was Team Hell No. But lately, we've had a resurgence in tag team competition.
We sure have.
Just like the Usos, just like the Wyatt family, we got the Matadors. Wait, what's the other tag team I was thinking of? Oh yeah, Stardust and Goldust.
Oh, which is fantastic. I
We
love
recently
it.
lost a great tag team in the Shield, but that's okay because we're getting a great feud out of it.
We
But
are.
uh, we for some reason lately tag teams have become the thing again, and they've
Mm,
become a meaningful tag team title or a tag team championship. You know, it's just it means something again. It's not like, oh, these guys were former world champions, we have nothing else better to do with them, so let's just give the tag titles.
right.
You know, it now actually means something. You know, like Jay and Jimmy Uso may be actually a big thing later on if they ever split up, or Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, if they split up, they will have a meaningful singles run because they were
Hmm.
former tag team competitors and actually had great matches like they had at Battleground.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
let's hope, let's hope whenever that is, if they do end up, obviously tag teams usually they split up at some point.
mm-hmm.
Um, hopefully nowadays you'll have tag teams where both men can branch off and be stars, rather than how it was when we were growing up. It's like there was always just the one person in that tag team that would go on and be a star, and the other one would just kind of fizzle out.
Yeah. Heart Foundation and the Rockers, ring a bell, anyone?
Yes, because in tag teams, the Rockers were like my favorite tag team as when I was a kid. Loved the Rockers, but you know what?
Mm.
But loved Shawn Michaels more than Marty Jannetty. You know why?
Yeah.
Because Shawn Michaels, he showed out more. He was more charismatic. He had the cooler moves. It was just you could just tell that he was the star of the tag team. I knew this even when I was just a little kid. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yes.
And then you got the Hart Foundation. You got Bret Hart. I mean, Jim Neidhart. You know, he was still in the WWE after they broke up, and he tried a singles run, and he tried to do a tag team with Owen Hart, called the New Foundation, and things just didn't work out for him. And here's Bret becoming the world champion. You know,
Hmm.
he was definitely the star of the tag team. I mean, we have a lot of like favorite tag teams out there, and I mean, Rockers and Hart Foundation are definitely up there for me on the list.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, and that's what we're talking about is our favorite tag teams. I mean, we got some great tag teams now, but tag team wrestling has been something that's been so prevalent in and what Archie and I have been watching over time, and we've seen some great tag teams, we've seen some horrible tag teams.
Oh yeah.
So, what are your favorite tag teams?
Well, like I said before, like my favorite tag team, like I said, growing up was the Rockers. I just
Mm-hmm.
I liked I liked their outfits for one, because they always changed. They're always very colorful,
Mm-hmm.
and they were high flyers. So that really got my attention because I loved that. I loved the double team moves from like the top rope, and they were always just seemed to fly. They always seemed to just be flying around everywhere. And of course, as a kid, I'm just like, yeah, 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 and so Rockers were my all time. Heart Foundation, like you said, going back to that one again. Love the Heart Foundation more so. Bret Hart, obviously. Jim
Uh-huh.
Neidhart, yeah, Jim Neidhart. I didn't get, but I loved Bret. I loved Bret Hart. Um, and I loved their finisher. I loved the heart attack finisher. I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was brilliant. I loved it. And I think that's one of the reasons. I mean, their styles worked with each other. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's why the Owen and Jim. I think that's why they didn't work because Owen's style was still so much different than Brett's.
Yes.
That it didn't work the way Jim and Brett's their chemistry worked. They just didn't have that same chemistry. So,
No.
but let me try. I'm trying to think of some more tag teams here, man. It's because there's so many of them, and I don't want to leave anybody out. Um,
What about
oh,
Money Incorporated?
Money Incorporated. Oh, hated them. Loved to hate them, actually.
Yes.
Because they played such great heels. They were so.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're a kid, they're bad guys. You didn't know what a heel was. They're bad guys.
Uh
Um,
huh.
but they were so good at it. They were so good at
Yeah, they were.
making you hate them. And
Yes, they did.
But I think one of my favorite tag teams of just pure, just brute strength and power has to be the Road Warriors.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, I loved the Road Warriors, or Legion of Doom, of whatever one you want to call them. But to me, still has one of the most devastating tag team finishes of all time, the Doomsday Device. Because I always someone is going to land on their freaking head, and it's again they're break their neck. Always, it always. Every time they did it, I was like, "Oh, I love this move," but just hold my breath at the same time because I just didn't. I always thought that someone was just gonna. All right, this is not gonna end well for whoever's on top of Animal's shoulders. Is just not gonna end well. But
and how many people actually got injured because of that stupid move? I mean, Jerry Sags got injured. Henry Godwin got injured. I mean, you're talking about people who were huge guys taking this devastating move, And so when the Dudley Boys started using it, not Devon, but Bubba Ray actually would fall with the guy as opposed to, hey, you're getting clothesline, I'm just going to flip you up off my shoulders.
He's going to clothesline him, and Devon would hold onto the person's legs and fall backwards with them. Rather than, if you see Hawk, or not Hawk, but Animal, when Hawk comes off and clotheslines him, he's got the guy's legs and pushes the guy backwards off his shoulders, and the guy flips around, and you just never knew how the guy was going to land. And I was just like, oh, man. Very devastating finisher. Demolition was huge when we were kids, but
they're at my bottom 5. Actually,
they are definitely not in my favorite category. Definitely not in my favorite category. I just didn't. Let's all right. We're Kiss knockoffs. Is that what we are?
Kind of S&M knockoffs too.
You
just saw those outfits. That's like kids were watching this stuff, and we were kids when we saw them. And I'm looking at that's kind of dirty. Why are they showing?
It was like Kiss mixed with S&M. It was. It's like oh my goodness, but they're in my bottom 5 tag teams, but I don't know, man. There were so many great tag teams. Hey, how about Men on a Mission?
Oh gosh. All right. Okay. 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 First of all, Men on a Mission was clearly Vince's idea of trying to capture the urban market, and not realizing how offensive it was going to get. The less said about Men on a Mission, the better, because it was. I didn't like it when it first came up, and when they continued on and almost won the tag titles, I was like, please, God, Quebecers win.
We're the Quebecers.
The Quebecers, oh my gosh, 94? 93 to 94, what a heyday for them.
Love the Quebecers.
They were... they were so great because you had the former Mountie.
Yes.
Jacques Rougeau. Was it Jacques?
In my opinion, Jacques Rougeau, the most underrated talent back in that day.
Yes. Absolutely.
Oh, I love me some Mountie. Get me out of here!
If you don't know what we're talking about, SummerSlam 91 had a match with the Big Boss Man. Watch it, because that's also a little offensive, but hilarious at the same time. So, anyway, the Quebecers, with Pierre Ouellette, was a fantastic tag team, actually. They worked really well, and that was at the tail end of Jacques Rougeau's career. I mean, he was getting older and everything. He had already been a tag team champion with his brother, Ray Rougeau. But the biggest thing to come out of that tag team, though, is Raven, who was Raven. What was his name? Crap, I forgot his name. He was Johnny Polo.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
Johnny Polo was their manager.
He was the manager. I remember. I had to think back for a second.
He eventually became Raven. But yeah, oh man, the Quebecers. If you watched in 93, 94, they were the heel tag team. They took over Money Incorporated's spot as the top heel tag team,
Mm-hmm.
and um, they were they were my favorite because not only were they good at what they did, but they were also good at being hated. And what's crazy is when you look at it, the only reason you had to hate them is because they dressed like Mounties.
Yeah.
And
That's because they weren't American. They were Canadians. I mean, that's the only reason. That's the only reason why they why they gave you to hate them. I mean, they didn't. I don't. I remember them saying anything bad about America. I think all their stuff was just all this. All they did was come out and profess how much they love Canada.
Yeah, really.
All they did was
That's
come out
it.
like what did they? Didn't they sing the Canadian anthem? Isn't that what they did?
They would sing the Canadian anthem, but their ring music, their entrance music, were not the
Yes,
Mounties.
we're not the Mounties.
But they dressed like Mounties, you know. And oh god, I really loved that tag team. I really, really did. Let's see here. Favorites, man, I have to say Edge and Christian.
Oh my lord.
If you're looking at a pattern here, Archie really likes the faces. I really like the heels actually. The heel tag teams are what made the face tag teams really good, you know. And I don't know, man. Just Edge and Christian when they were heel tag teams, it was fantastic, incredibly entertaining, and oh man, there was just nothing that those two couldn't do
No, there
or
wasn't.
couldn't do to incite hatred in the fans. Like the 5 second pose.
5 second pose. And then when they had the kazoos and they were doing the theme songs
The
with the kazoos. You think you know me? You think you know me? You think you know me?
Oh man, hey, that was 99 to 2001. That was their run, and man, you could tell that Edge and Christian just were having nothing but fun.
Yeah.
That, you know, when they were not in the ring. When they were in the ring, it was a totally different story. They were tag team specialists, you know, of the same ilk of the Rockers and the Hart Foundation. They worked really well together,
Mm-hmm.
and they knew where they were at all times, and they were also perfectionists. So that's why their matches kept getting better and better.
Yeah.
I loved Edge and Christian. I always looked forward to the matches, even if they were taking on like faces that I liked, like Rock and Undertaker. That was a great match on Raw. But I was actually cheering for Edge and Christian. So, yeah. Favorite tag teams. Good lord, that's a good question I've asked, and I can't really answer without
Rue, there's like
by being afraid to.
There's like 3 decades to go through.
I know. I have to say TNA, Test and Albert. You know, oh my gosh.
Oh man.
Oh, I love no, I hated that tag team. First of all, one unimaginable, no imagination whatsoever went to their name.
No.
And obviously it was a reference to Trish Stratus
Yes.
more than anything. But, yeah, not a great tag team.
No. Not at all.
Natural Disasters is another one that's at the bottom of my list.
Man,
Bottom 5.
Natural disasters. Hey, let's nail you. One of you, earthquake, and how about typhoon? You used to be tugboat, but let's call you typhoon because hey, maybe the typhoon sunk the tugboat, so now you're typhoon. All right, we'll go with that.
So you got really, really big wrestlers who are each over 300 pounds. That they have a hard time moving sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's money to me. Yeah, I like
Yes.
that.
Vince.
It's like putting Haku with Andre the Giant and calling him the Colossal Connection. Oh wait, we're gonna have Haku do all the work because poor Andre's too injured to do too much. Yeah, fantastic idea.
Who was the all right? What was that tag team? It was Hakeem and who else?
Hakeem and the Big Boss Man, wasn't it?
Yes. What were they? Were they the Twin Towers or something like that?
Yeah, so here, let me look at that up. Good lord, Hakeem, I forgot about that. Yeah, okay, that'll be another one. Maybe that'll be another episode of racism in wrestling, because you have a guy named Hakeem the African Dream, and he's a white guy. What are you doing? Okay, oh, that was the one.
What? It sounds just...
Yeah,
it just sounds logical, doesn't it?
Totally. Twin Towers.
Twin
That's what it was.
Towers.
Akeem and Big Boss Man. Horrible.
Terrible.
Absolutely horrible. Oh, poor George Gray. And I gotta be honest, I love the Big Boss Man. He never was a tag team wrestler.
No. No, he was never good as a tag team wrestler. He was obviously had a lot more success as a singles wrestler, and he really hit his peak, early on in the mid 90s. I mean, it was just like that's just kind of for me. That's where things kind of went downhill for him. And then when he went to WCW and he was Ray Traylor, and he went by his real name, Ray Traylor. It's just, his glory days were very, very far behind him by then.
It's funny. We were actually mentioning a lot of WWE tag teams. Any WCW tag teams that shoot out at you?
Glacier and Mortis.
Yeah.
What? What are you talking about?
Yeah, no.
What?
No.
But, all right.
What about Harlem
Heat? There we go. There's another classic. That's another classic. One guy can actually wrestle, and the other guy is just there for a hot tag for about 2 minutes, and that's it.
I gotta say, Stevie Ray, though, when he was in matches with Booker T, Booker T made him look good. And they, their matches with the Outsiders. And if you look back on like if you go on WWE Network and actually watch the matches between Harlem Heat and Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, you realize that Harlem Heat carried Scott Hall and Kevin Nash more often.
Yeah.
And that's actually a credit to both Stevie Ray and Booker T, because who's going to carry Scott Hall and Kevin Nash? I mean, they're the guys, they're the stars, they're the ones who's supposed to be carrying the bulk of the work, and that's they're the ones that have the pressure on them, and they're not carrying their weight, But yeah, I loved Harlem Heat. I actually looked forward to their matches. Sometimes they were stuck with guys that couldn't wrestle, like the Patriot and Marcus Bagwell. What do they call the All Americans or something like that?
Something like that. The Patriot and Marcus Bagwell. Good night.
Oh god. That could be another one. It could be another podcast. Wasted Potential. Yeah, Marcus Bagwell's right there in the
Wasted
list.
Potential. Wasted. Here's one for another podcast too. We're coming up with podcast ideas during a podcast. What in the world are we doing?
Yeah.
People whose interviews that you never understood.
Okay, well, we have Ultimate Warrior and Scott Steiner at the top of that list.
I could talk about those two forever.
Followed very closely by the Iron Sheik.
Yes, the Iron
Sheik. Anyway,
yes.
Any other WCW tag teams that stick out to you? I mean, I can think of the Steiner brothers, because more of their time as a tag team was actually in WCW than it was in WWE.
The Steiner brothers. I loved when I was a kid. I loved watching the Steiner brothers on Saturday mornings. When they came on, when WCW had the Saturday morning wrestling show. I loved it. I never really missed it. And the Steiner brothers are one of the tag teams that I actually loved to watch, because I thought that they worked very, very well together. It wasn't just one guy carried the other guy during a match. It was I liked watching Rick and Scott Steiner equally in the ring together, doing their thing.
Yeah.
That's what I love. That's what I loved about the Steiners, is that I feel like they both had their equal share of ring time, and they both deserved it. And that's and Scott Steiner's the very first one that I ever saw the Frankensteiner from, and I loved it. I just thought that was amazing. How I don't know who they were wrestling, but I remember he Irish whipped the guy, and just from a standstill jumped straight up in the air. Put his legs around the guy's head, and then somersaulted and did the Frankensteiner. And as a kid, I was in awe. I was like, "Holy cow! What did I just see?" Because that back then you didn't see those kind of moves back then. You didn't see those. I mean, this is what mid to kind of later 80s. You just didn't see stuff like that. So I was just like, "Holy cow! I can't believe I just saw that." And then I think that's like instantly I was just like a huge fan of like the Steiner brothers and everything. But I think WCW alone was, especially towards like the years of like the 90s and stuff like that, where it seemed like it was like the decade of factions. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was just like there's a lot more factions than there were tag teams. And if they didn't know what to do with you, hey, they just throw you into the NWO. So I mean, but I mean, that's a whole other topic,
Hmm.
But tag
Yeah,
teams.
yeah. I mean, the Steiner brothers are so much fun to watch. I mean, it wasn't just the Frankensteiner that he used. Which, by the way, little tidbit. That's where Rey Mysterio came up with the 619, or no,
Yeah,
the
the
West
West
Coast
Coast Pop.
Pop. He actually admits in an interview that it was Scott Steiner that gave him the inspiration to start using that in his wrestling matches when he was in
Awesome.
Mexico. So how about
Yeah.
that? Well, the other thing about the Steiner brothers though was the fact that not only were they from Michigan, which where Archie and I are originally from, but the amount of suplexes. I
Yes.
mean, I'd never seen that many suplexes in a match, and if anyone knows me, I love
Hmm.
suplexes. And the fact that the suplex actually is is a mat wrestling move. I mean, not all of them are, but there are some suplexes that are allowed. Yeah, I mean, holy crap! I've never seen that many. And
Tons and
so
tons.
when I see like Kurt Angle do like the triple German suplex, it's just like, oh yeah. I mean, it takes me back to seeing the Steiners get a body lock on someone and just flip them over
Mhm.
their heads.
Like back then too, it wasn't. They're like those like German suplexes. Like nowadays, they're a little bit more safe. The way they do them. But back then, it was just like I'm just gonna flip them over my head. The guys are like landing on their shoulders, and they're just like oh. But but yeah, you're right. I've almost forgot how many suplexes like Scott Steiner himself really did during those matches, and
Hmm.
yeah, man, that's cool. Thanks for reminding me of that because I almost completely forgot. And then they had a really cool
Well,
finisher, which was the top rope bulldog,
yeah,
which I really loved. Not a whole
the top rope bulldog, but that was with Rick
yeah.
coming off the top. Do you remember the finisher that had Scott coming off the top with Rick having their opponent on his shoulders?
Hold on. Let me. It was no. You're gonna have to remind me.
It was like a super DDT from the top rope.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, they used to
You
do
are
that.
right.
They used to do that, but then they stopped. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly why. I'm sure it was dangerous, but I don't know. I like that finisher more than I like the Steiner Bulldog or whatever the crap that is. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Never knew the name of it.
The
But
bulldog.
yeah, the Bulldog. Yeah.
Something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Well, we want to know.
Well,
What we want to know from you guys is what are your guys' favorite tag teams? What are your favorite tag teams? What are your most hated tag teams? And it doesn't matter
mhm.
from what decade. It doesn't matter what era. It doesn't matter if it's the golden era, or if it's from the ruthless aggression era, attitude era. WCW. What they didn't have eras, but but anytime
Yeah, it could be from
or yeah,
ECW. It could be from AWA.
ECW. It
It
doesn't
doesn't
matter. But
matter.
let us know in your comments what you think, or what your personal, and even jot down some memories too of some of your favorite tag team moments. So yeah, let us know.
Yeah. So thank you so much for listening. Once again, it was a kind of a topic that could go on forever, but a lot of news happened also this past week. Uh, we're gonna keep doing this because there's so much to talk about, and we're just two guys who like to talk. So thank you so much for listening. Please like, comment, favorite, subscribe. We're on
Yes.
Twitter, AppenRoid at AppenRoid. Follow us. Uh, yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Next week we'll have a new topic, and you know, I hope you're liking what you hear so
Yes,
far.
and even if you don't, who cares? We're still doing
Yeah, that's true.
it.
Yeah. So Anyway, all right. Well, hey, I have been your host. I am Rue, and with me as
As
always,
Archie.
yeah.
Woohoo!
And so Thank you again. You guys take care and talk to you.